Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty V Cards. Happy Top Series 1 Eve. Tomorrow is the very first day of the 2021 baseball card season, which is awesome, and Top Series 1 this year is loaded. Probably one of the best Top Series 1s we've had in a very, very long time. There's amazing pitching rookies, there's amazing hitting rookies, and all these prospects are debuting at the end of last year, and it's just fantastic because now that they debuted last year, they can get their rookie cards. So 2020 did lead to a really, really good rookie class, or at least the potential of having a really, really good rookie class. So what I want to do is talk about the top hitting prospects and rookies that are going into this year, and these rookies and how I would rank them. I created a little system, as you can see on the screen. It has the player's name and it has the rating of the players. So these three are just going to be honorable mentions. You know, I have Luis Garcia, Bobby Dahlback, Evan White, but I have the prospect ranking. So if they're in the top 10, they get 10 points. If they're in the top 20, they get 9 points. If they're in like the 90th prospect, they get 1 point. And both of those, Luis Garcia and Bobby Dahlback, were. And then I can have their minor league stats, and however good their minor league stats are, I gave them a numerical grade. How old they are, the younger they are, the better the grade. So if they're 20 years old, they got a 10. If they're 21, they got it. Going into their age 20 season, I gave them a 10. Going into their age 21 season, I gave them a 9. Their major league stats from last year, that was also ranked, it has a total, and then I average the totals out to give them a ranking. And this ranking I have put in order to see who I believe will be good is accurate to this small little session. So without further ado, the very first person, I would say number 8, is going to be Nick Madrigal. Nick Madrigal, he was a very top prospect, really high draft pick for the Chicago White Sox, and he played really good when he came up to the big leagues last year. His offense wasn't great, but he played defense really well, and he has the potential and tools to become a top player. Not in baseball, but on a team. He could be a really good impact player for years. So let's go look at his stats and kind of talk about his minor league experience. So you can see in the minors, he had a very high batting average of 309 over 2 seasons, and he has a 769 OPS. So he has a good batting average, really low slugging. He does not have a ton of power, 4 homers in 2 seasons in the minors, which isn't great in today's league. But, you know, as a second baseman, if he's in shortstop, you know, he plays 2-3 premium positions here. If he's able to have a high batting average, kind of be like the early version of DJ LeMahieu, who was for the Rockies in Colorado, have a really high batting average and just play gold glove defense, that's great. That's all the White Sox want. And he still had an above average offensive year and above average defensive year last year. So good player. And he's not super old at all. He's 22 his age 22 season. He's always been relatively ranked high, so pretty good player, Nick Madrigal. Next up, we have Cristian Poche. This is one that a lot of people are really high on for good reason. MLB rankings in 2020 ranked him in the top 20. So he has a lot of potential there, and he's super young going into his age 22 season. The thing with Poche that's hard is he has not been that good in the minor leagues. If you go look at his minor league stats, he has, 283 batting average, which is respectable, but a 734 OPS. He has the potential and the tools. He just needs to put it all together, and that's what the Braves are hoping happens with him. And if he does, he has a super high ceiling because he is a true 5-tool player. At least that's how he was recruited, as a really good power, average defensive player. So last year in the big leagues, he didn't do that great, but he only had, I think, 4 at-bats, but I still had to give him a numerical value just because I couldn't leave that one blank. Last year, he had 4 at-bats. He had a negative .1 WAR, OPS plus of 32. But overall, Poche could come back, and he could be a fantastic player. Next, we have Joey Bart. And Joey Bart had an amazing minor league couple seasons. In the minors, he had like an 875 OPS. Let's go check out his stats real fast. 875 OPS, 284 batting average, tons of home runs, 29 homers, only 130 games. That would average out to be about 35 home runs. So, solid player. Joey Bart as a catcher for the Giants is great too. It's a premium position for a really good club. I wouldn't be shocked if Bart ends up in AAA to start the year. He never even hit AAA, and that's why his offensive numbers in 2020, as you can see here, weren't that good. But being a catcher in San Francisco is really good for his card market, and if he can just be a good player like he's projected to be, his cards could have great value. All right, so now we're in the top 5. Number 5, we have Ryan Mountcastle. People are also very high on Ryan Mountcastle, and the reason why Ryan Mountcastle isn't higher is because he wasn't really ranked a top prospect. He was in the 60s, and he's a little bit older. He's going into his age 24 season, but he has good MILB stats, minor league baseball, and good major league stats. His major league stats last year were awesome. He had a 140 OPS plus. He hit 333. He had 5 homers. And he played good defense, actually, which is really nice to see. So overall, Ryan Mountcastle is a great little player. I think the only hit he has is that he plays for Baltimore and will for years, and they're not going to be good at least for another 3 to 4 years until they have their young catcher Adley Rutschman come up and some good pitching prospects. Number 4, we have Dylan Carlson. Dylan Carlson is actually more solid than people realize. He has okay minor league stats. He had okay major league stats, but he is only 22 going into his age 22 season, and he's always been ranked really high. So let's go look at Carlson real fast. So in the minor leagues, he doesn't have a high batting average yet, but he can develop into that. But he has a 781 OPS because he has really high slugging numbers, and he actually gets on base relatively well. So if he can get his batting average up, that'll help his on base and maybe even his slugging and boost his OPS above that 800 mark. But, again, he debuted at age 17 in the minors, so he's still only going into his age 22 season. In the big leagues last year, he was just a league average player, but he was always projected to be a solid player. Pre-2020, he was number 10, so he was a top 10 prospect. And he has a youth on his side. You want to get a younger player when you're buying a player's base tops guard, because the younger they are, the more likely they are to get to the Hall of Fame, because it gives them more years to develop in the big leagues, get accustomed to big league pitching before they're too old to really develop and get all of the necessary counting stats to get there. So number 3, we have Keibert Ruiz, who is one person that people don't really think of, and I think he is really underrated. He is a catcher for the Dodgers. The main problem with Keibert Ruiz is the fact that he's blocked by Will Smith, but you know how the Dodgers work. If he's good, he'll get playing time. Maybe he platoons with Smith. I'm not sure how his splits are against lefty-righty, but Will Smith has been great, probably top 3 hitting catcher, so it's going to be tough for Ruiz, but they'll figure it out. His prospect ranking, he was like 32 overall, I believe. His minor league stats were very good for a catcher. I said about a 5. It could have been a little bit higher. He's only going into his 22 season, and his major league stats were good. He only had 4 at-bats, but I still had to give him a number. And in those 4 at-bats, he had 2 hits. Let me pull it up and just show you. In those 4 at-bats, he had a 250 batting average, but he slugged 625. He had a double and a home run, and he looked good, in his little bit he played. But overall, he is a pretty top prospect for the Dodgers, and he debuted, so it'll be nice to see him hopefully get some at-bats this year. So that's number 3 with Keibert Ruiz. Number 2, we have Mr. Jo Adell, who I think is the one player I'm going to be going after the most. I want to get a few Jo Adell golds if I can get them for around $80, and maybe some rainbow foils. Jo Adell is a stud. It's too bad he was putrid in the big leagues. This was 1. Sorry, this should be a 1 for MLB stats because he was really that bad. Let's go look at his last year. I bet you, and I can look at this and I'll put it on the video, Joel Adell was either number 1 or number 2 for worst offensive player in the big leagues. He had a negative 1.3 WAR, an OPS plus of 31, and he got a lot of at-bats, 124 at-bats. He looked lost at the plate. I watched almost every bat of his because I watched Trout, almost every game of the Angels, just because I have so much money into Mike Trout's cards that I like to see him perform. But Jo Adell, he looked lost. He had 3 home runs, and 2 of those home runs were back-to-back at-bats. So basically over the other 121 at-bats, only had 1 other home run. On top of that, his actual defense was really bad. He's supposed to be a good defender, but he pulled a Jose Canseco where he went to the wall to catch a ball, went in his glove, and bounced over the wall. And they gave Canseco, the guy who hit the ball off of Canseco's head, so Jose Canseco went to catch a ball, hit his head, and went over the fence. They gave him a home run, but Jo Adell, the person who hit it, actually got a 4. Jo Adell got a 4-base error, so that was just he scored on an error, all on Jo Adell. So he looked really bad in the outfield, but he will develop. He completely skipped AAA. Don't forgive me. He had 20 games or so in AAA because he was in Salt Lake, and I got to watch 1 or 2 of his games. But he wasn't great AAA. But overall, his minor league stats are really good at 878 OPS, 300 batting average, lots of power. On top of that, he was a really good defender in the outfield in the minor leagues. It's just he was thrown in way too early to the big leagues, and he really struggled there. And that leaves us with number 1. Number 1 is going to be Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm, he's awesome because he has been able to perform in the big leagues and he performed in the minor leagues. He is relatively young and he also has been ranked pretty high. He's a player that people have been excited for, and he performed well enough to make that excitement worthwhile. You can see his big league stats. He had an 881 OPS, 136 OPS plus, the most WAR out of any of these players with .9. Just a good player. So I think he's one you could really buy into. The Phillies collectors are pretty big collectors, so his cards may not be cheap, but he's one that you could consider looking into. The main hit against Alec Bohm is that he's old. He's going into his age 24 season, maybe 25. Let's go look at his overview. Baseball Reference will also have their projections here. So this will be his age 24 season, but if you can see up here, he's 24 and 190 days, so he's more than halfway to age 25 already. It's just he starts the season out at 24, and that's how that works. So overall, he'll be a tough one to get to the Hall of Fame necessarily, but he could be a really solid player for the Phillies, and that bodes well for his values. So I would just say overall, this little thing I did was just fun to kind of see if it agreed with who I thought would be good, and I like it a lot. Again, the players I'm going to be looking at is Joe Adele. I kind of like Keibert Ruiz, actually, and I like Joey Bart. Those are the main people I'll be buying. I also am interested in Luis Garcia. I think he could be under the radar, but do not take my word for it. Go run your own little formulas to see what you think is the best player to buy. I just want to discuss with you some really good prospects and some exciting times for baseball card collectors as the season's coming up. Nothing's better than Top Series 1. I know you usually don't get the most valuable stuff out of it. You can get some really cool parallels, but it's a really fun product. It's just nice to know that baseball season's coming. You get a bunch of new rookies, and this year is even more exciting because you have all these great hitters, and like I said earlier, the pitching lineup is even better for this release. So overall, I'm excited, and I hope you guys are as well. I am recording this on, what's today? Tuesday the 9th. So Series 1 releases tomorrow, so please post what you guys pull, and I'll do the same thing. If I get anything good, I'll pin it at the top to let you know. I'm sure you totally care. So anyways, guys, thanks for your time. Please like and subscribe. Overall, I'm really excited for cards to get back into release. Hopefully there'll be some left over for me and the flippers won't take all of everything. But other than that, have a great evening, guys, and I'll catch you later.